Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more slug testing, and today we've got a very interesting combination to try out. It's a slug that has its own marketed purpose to it, but it definitely can transfer over into kind of the hunting scene as well, which is how we're going to test it today. We've already seen some promising results from these the last time we tested them a while back, but they had a little inconsistency to them as well. So maybe today's choke combo might dial that in just that little bit more. Definitely has the potential to, but we'll see what happens, since this is kind of a combination that stands on both sides of the fence. But for the slugs we're running today, I brought out some more of the Brenneke USA Tactical Home Defense slugs. They are a managed recoil shell as well. They're not a low recoil shell, but they're definitely less recoil than a standard 2 3/4 inch rifled slug would be. I'd put them kind of in the 20 gauge slug world, so they are better for sure, but they are a 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch 1 ounce slug. Brenneke claims it's 440 grains. 1 ounce is 438.5, so they're close anyway with that claim. And the back of the box says we have a muzzle velocity of 1378 with an accuracy claim of 1.2 inches at 50 yards. And from our previous testing, both of these numbers and claims here are pretty accurate if they perform the way they're supposed to anyway. But here's what one looks like. Very standard Brenneke type of shell here. Nothing fancy overall. If you've seen a Brenneke shell, this looks very much the same, but they have these tail wad pieces in them that stay connected to the slugs. What happens when you fire one of these, this base piece you see right here gets shoved up that shaft in the middle and sits up against the back of the slug and flies as a unit downrange. If that piece doesn't actually slide up that little post in the middle and sit flush, they can get a little squirrely and unstable. That's the big key to a Brenneke slug, flying correctly, and that's what we were seeing last time. When that piece did what it was supposed to, we were absolutely getting their claims, but when it didn't, we were stringing them kind of all over the place. So maybe today's choke combo might help that out and give them a little bit better stability overall, even if that tail wad piece doesn't do quite what it's supposed to. But for the setup we're running, I brought out the Remington 870. This one's got a 24-inch smoothbore barrel on it. We're going to be running a Carlson's rifle choke tube today compared to the improved cylinder we tested last time. This rifle choke in 12 gauge has shown us some promising results, and maybe that little bit of rifling at the end of the barrel might help compensate and give these a little more stability if that tail wad doesn't work properly, but it also has the potential to just mess with the entire unit and throw everything off as well. We'll see what happens, but in theory, this might have potential to work out the way we hope it does. But up on top is a Hawk Vantage IR 3 to 9x40 with the slug gun reticle in it. It is receiver mounted, so everything as far as barrel tension goes and keeping our accuracy is off the magazine cap, which is nice and tight with witness marks scored on everything to make sure nothing comes loose. It's been perfect so far, and this is the same setup we tried last time, but with a different choke from these slugs, so we'll see what we get. But as for today's test, I literally have enough slugs to do this test, and I have no extras. So we're going to shoot 2 groups, 3 shots each, one at 50 yards and another at 100 yards. It's not a perfect test, and these are a more tactical, defensive-oriented slug, but even Brenneke claims that deer hunters have seen some good results from these for that purpose as well. And based on our test, we know that they're capable of it out to 100 yards if everything goes correctly. So we'll at least be able to see if this is a decent combo at all, or if we see some very wild results. So let's get you guys a view of those targets. We'll shoot some groups, and we'll see what we can get from these through a rifle choke today. All right, so let's run through our chrono numbers real quick before we look at our target. Boss claim is 1378. We have a 24-inch barrel with a little bit of choke out of the end. And just like last time, I think we were seeing pretty much right on their claim, if not a little bit above. So we're right on the money here overall. But our high was 1412. The low was 1367. That gave us an average of 1384. So that's just a couple feet per second above their boss claim of 1378 with an extreme spread of 45 and a standard deviation of 14. So maybe that rifle choke helped get them a little more consistent velocity as well. Maybe it sealed a little better once they hit that rifling compared to what we saw last time with an improved cylinder. I guess it's a possibility. But at an average of 1384, here's your muzzle energy for a 1 ounce slug, or 440 grains, as Brenneke claims it to be anyway. Clearly, even though these are a home defense style tactical marketed slug, that is still plenty enough energy for a deer hunt scenario, without a doubt. So looking good there, but let's look at our target and see how they did through this rifle choke. Okay, so here's our target, and we definitely see some pretty interesting looking results here overall. We'll start over there on the left with our 50-yard group, that being these 3 shots up here. We had 2 that were pretty well touching each other, and 1 just a hair to the right. I felt good about all of the trigger pulls today, and both groups pretty much look exactly the same as far as shape goes, just a little more spread out there at a little longer distance. Obviously, this is not the round or the choke that my scope is zeroed with, which is why we favored a little to the right. But at 50 yards, we had 1.28 inches, and wouldn't you know it, the back of the box says 1.2 inches at 50 yards is the accuracy claim. So I'd say we pretty well nailed it right there. If that's what they're claiming we should be seeing, then we're right on the money. But you can also see a little bit with these that they're not perfectly straight bullet holes. Mainly this one over here on the right, you can see how the tail end of it definitely favored a little bit high and right. So still with that rifle choke, they're not perfectly stable. They're not dead straight bullet holes necessarily. And that trend definitely continued out there towards 100 yards as well. So moving over to the right, we had our 100-yard group. We had these 3 slug holes right here. We definitely continued to favor a little to the right because that's not what I'm zeroed with, but we kept pretty much the same looking group as we did over at 50 yards. We just opened it up a little bit, but we also can still see how those slugs are not perfectly stable. This one on the right, the tail end of it favored low left. This one favored a little bit high left, and this guy favored a little bit to the left. But even though they may not be dead on the money straight, they're close enough and stable enough to clearly hold some decent accuracy overall. Because even at 100 yards, we're at 3.27 inches, and that's from the farthest 2 points across, which is these bottom 2 slugs there from center to center on those 2 bullet holes. So going from 1.2 to a little over 3 at 100, I'll take that all day long. Usually, I like to see 3 inches or better out of my slug guns at 100, but just a tad over 3 inches, I mean, that's going to take any deer you put it through, as long as you obviously have your scope zeroed to that particular combination. And they are still obviously flying straight enough to hold good groups, and they would perform the way they're supposed to if you actually took a shot on a deer with them, as far as penetration goes and stuff like that. They're not a straight up keyhole sideways. So we definitely improved our consistency a lot going to a rifle choke. It's only 1 in 35 twist rate, as for what Carlson says it is, and it's a short amount of it right at the end of the barrel, but we got rid of all those little flyers we were seeing with just an improved cylinder. So I'm really curious now, if I pick up another box or 2 of these and we run them through a rifled barrel, can we dial it in even farther than that? Because for a smoothbore, that already is plenty good enough. There's an awful lot of smoothbore slug guns out there that shoot way worse than that and take deer all day long. So for a tactical marketed shell, I mean, to be fair, Brenneke does say that hunters have found success with these as well, and I believe it. We definitely saw some good results here. I think it goes without saying these would be more than enough in a home defense scenario. But if you had 1 shotgun and you wanted to leave 1 shell in it all year round and lean it up in the corner of the bedroom at night and then take it out deer hunting the next day, I don't see why these slugs can't do that. It would serve the purpose just fine for either scenario. So I'm liking what I'm seeing here, that's for sure. Can't really complain too much about that for what it is all day long. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about those results right there? I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing. Have we seen a slight bit tighter grouping from that particular shotgun with other slugs, mainly some old Federals. Yes, we have technically, but still 3 inches or so at 100 yards and better in at closer ranges. For a slug gun, can you really ask for a whole lot better than that? From a smoothbore gun anyway, that's gonna take the deer any day of the week. And for a tactical style slug, a lot of times they can really struggle, but that isn't bad overall. For what that combo is, I wouldn't hesitate to run that for a deer hunt. So now I'm definitely really curious to run these through a rifled barrel and see what they can do. We've seen other very nice results from Brenneke slugs just like this before through rifled barrels. So I think we've got some serious potential there to have a really nice performing combination. So did that rifle choke help us out some? Definitely so. Did it reduce the group size at all? Maybe 1/8 of an inch or so at 50 yards. But where it really came into play is getting rid of those instability inconsistencies. Before, with the improved cylinder, if the slug wasn't dead on the money straight, we were gonna see it for sure. It was gonna kind of throw it off one way or the other. But with this, even though you can clearly see we weren't dead on the money straight when we were cutting holes through the paper, I think that gyroscopic stability, that rotational force put on it, just a little bit by that tiny little bit of rifling out of the end of the barrel, definitely helped keep them stable a little bit better. So if nothing else, that's where our improvement came from for sure. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Brenneke tactical home defense slugs? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is this a combo you would run for a deer hunt scenario? Or would you just prefer to keep these slugs for that home defense purpose? And maybe what other setups or combos do you want to see me run when it comes to slugs? Putting these through a rifled barrel or different choke constriction, or putting any other different slugs you might want to see through this particular combination. Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.